What if I told you the difference between completing 250 miles across Cuba and collapsing in failure had nothing to do with physical fitness? That the same body that conquered 100 miles through Alaska's frozen wilderness could crumble beneath Caribbean heat, not because of training, nutrition, or preparation, but because of something happening in the invisible realm up here. The Cuban heat was so intense, I collapsed during the second day of running, my vision blurring at the edges. The weight of failure pressed against my chest like a stone. I'd come here riding the high of my greatest victory, and instead, I was calling it quits. Defeated not by the distance, but by something far more insidious. Not all that long before, I rejoiced at the finish line of a 100-mile race across Alaska's frozen tundra, tears freezing on my cheeks as I crossed into what felt like a different version of myself. I felt unstoppable, transformed, ready to take on any challenge. Yet here I was, same body, arguably better fitness. And the outcomes, they couldn't have been more different. What I discovered in the contrast between these two experiences changed how I approach every challenge, every adventure, every moment when the path ahead seems impossible. There are invisible forces at work in extreme situations. Forces that determine whether we transcend our limitations or wither beneath them. Sometimes victory teaches us far less than defeat. The decision to attempt 100 miles across Alaska in winter came from a hunger to test myself against something that seemed almost impossible. The Alaskan wilderness stretched before me like a mirror, its brutal beauty calling to something deep within. Standing at the starting line, surrounded by a landscape so harsh, it seemed almost alien. I felt something unexpected, complete presence. The cold air filled my lungs with crystal clarity. My mind wasn't scattered with doubts and logistics. It was here, now, fully aligned with the challenge ahead. I didn't know it then, but I was experiencing what I would later understand as perfect vibrational alignment.
Good morning. We just started the race. Could not have asked for a more beautiful morning. And look at the sunrise coming up. Gorgeous.
The early miles felt almost effortless. When that familiar voice of doubt whispered its poison, this is too cold, too far, too much, I found myself naturally redirecting. I am exactly where I need to be. My body is strong. I am capable. Every step takes me closer to who I'm becoming. My cells responded with energy and resilience.
Feeling good? Yep. Positive talk inside my mind. Oh man, that's right. And if not, you fake it till you make it. Just keep going.
I broke the race into smaller intentions, maintaining what I'd later learn author and public speaker Abraham Hicks calls cellular momentum in a positive direction. The Alaskan landscape became my teacher, showing me that beauty and harshness could coexist, that strength emerged not from the absence of challenge, but from how we choose to meet it.
I was having one of those moments where I was looking around, taking all the wilderness around here, thinking, how freaking cool is this? I get to do this. I get to do this. Let's see if I'm still saying that. Come 3 a.m.
Mile 50 brought the inevitable crisis point. My body was sending signals of fatigue and discomfort, but something in me responded constructively. Instead of interpreting these sensations as evidence I should quit, I saw them simply as information. The discomfort wasn't my enemy. It was part of the experience. To take a couple hours of sleep or to continue on. I cut the difference and gave myself an hour on the side of the trail, setting up the bare minimum of my supplies. Waking up, I leaned into an internal shift. I stopped thinking, I have to endure this, and started feeling, I choose to embrace this.
28 miles left, maybe a little less than that. Holy crap. Okay, I'm making the decision. I'm ready to get this done. Let's do this.
When we're enduring, we're resisting. When we're embracing, we're flowing. I developed mantras that connected me to something larger than my individual struggle. I am strong. I am capable. I am exactly where I belong. During the darkest moments across dismal swamp, when the cold seemed to penetrate my bones, I focused on breathing deeply, letting energy flow through every cell. The breakthrough came around mile 80. I felt something I can only describe as an opening, a moment when the resistance dissolved completely, and I was no longer running against the elements, but moving with them. My body felt light, despite the accumulated fatigue. My mind was clear and focused.
I have had a couple moments of, I'm not doing this for. I think that's something normal, but as soon as I have those thoughts, I try to just, try to excuse them as quickly as possible and just get it done, you know? No sense in playing in the negative.
I was experiencing that state of perfect alignment between intention and action that elite athletes describe, but rarely access at will. Crossing the finish line in Alaska wasn't just about completing 100 miles in brutal conditions. It was about understanding that I was capable of far more than I believed possible. Standing there in the Alaskan cold, tears frozen on my cheeks, I felt transformed. I discovered something profound about consciousness and capability, though I didn't yet quite have the language to describe what had happened. I left Alaska feeling invincible. I conquered one of the toughest challenges of my life. Surely, I could take on anything now. I spent months planning my route and preparing for Cuba, riding the wave of confidence from my Alaska triumph. 250 miles from Santa Clara in the heart of the island, back to Havana, running solo through the landscapes that had witnessed revolution and resilience. After Alaska, this felt like the next natural step in my evolution as an adventure athlete.
Day one of 5 days of running. Didn't sleep all too much, but hey, who cares? The sleep will get there. Hopefully just a few hours if all goes well.
But from the moment I started running, something felt different. My thoughts jumped from logistics to doubts to excitement without any coherent thread.
The sun is finally coming up. Took that really hot jacket off. Whew, feels better. Still hot.
I trained my body meticulously, but somehow I'd lost that alignment I'd found in Alaska. Day one slowly dissolved into a fog of poor decisions and unfocused energy that manifested as physical confusion.
Yeah, I'll take one of those bars with...
Which one? Caffeine?
Caffeine, please.
Are you feeling?
Yeah.
How's your water situation?
The nutrition mistakes started early. A mental fog created a cascade of physical problems, each poor decision compounding the next. My body was responding to the chaos in my mind, creating exactly what I was focusing on: struggle and uncertainty. By mile 30, the disconnect was widening. My internal dialogue had become a constant stream of criticism. You're not prepared for this heat. You conquered Alaska, but this is different. Maybe that was just luck. Each negative thought seemed to drain my energy further, and my cells were listening, responding with fatigue and confusion.
My mind plays a million tricks on me. It goes to the worst possible places in terms of health and safety. Yeah. I'm battling, if I were to stop calling it not failure, but remembering that there's learning in all of it, and that it ends up being a different trip with the same purpose. That's all.
In metaphysics, there's a theory led by Abraham Hicks that says our cells are conscious, that they respond to the vibration of our dominant thoughts. As I pushed through miles 60 to 70, I was feeding my body a steady diet of self-criticism and doubt. The cellular momentum was building against me, creating a physical reality that matched my mental state perfectly, and the spiral only accelerated. Every ache became evidence of my inadequacy. Every moment of fatigue proved that Alaska had just been a fluke. The internal voice grew louder. You're embarrassing yourself. You're gonna fail. You're not who you thought you were. After mile 70, something inside me broke. not my body. I'm sure I could have continued to slug my way through in a half-awake state. It was my spirit that surrendered, overwhelmed by the weight of my own negative expectations made manifest.
So I've been thinking, we came here to see the Cuban countryside.
On foot. Those are the feet.
That much we have. Plans change. So, we're to continue for a little bit longer and make an executive call.
I called off the attempt, sitting in the Cuban dust, feeling like I'd betrayed not just my goals, but some essential part of myself. The contrast was devastating. How could the same person who conquered Alaska crumble in Cuba? The failure taught me something profound about the inevitable architecture of achievement. In Alaska, I'd been naturally aligned without even knowing it. In Cuba, I'd lost that alignment and tried to compensate with willpower alone. The lesson was brutal, but necessary. True preparation isn't just physical. It's the alignment of mind, body, and spirit around a single unwavering intention. Alaska had taught me what was possible. Cuba taught me what was required. What I experienced between Alaska and Cuba wasn't some random variation in performance. It was the practical approach of principles that quantum physics and consciousness research are finally beginning to validate. Our thoughts create what Abraham Hicks calls cellular momentum in the body, a phenomenon that goes far beyond simple mind over matter. Every cell in our bodies is conscious, responding moment by moment to the vibrational frequencies of our dominant thoughts. The law of attraction, it's not responding to our wishes or our hopes. It's responding to our actual vibrations, the energy we're broadcasting through our thoughts and emotions. When I soared through Alaska, my cells were responding to alignment and certainty. When I collapsed in Cuba, those same cells were reflecting back the frequency of doubt and scattered focus. Same body, different broadcast signal, completely different physical reality. Elite athletes access this principle sporadically, often without understanding what's happening. They'll describe moments of transcendence, when time slows down, when their body feels weightless, when they perform feats that should be impossible given their training metrics. These aren't accidents. They're glimpses of what becomes available when consciousness and physical form align perfectly. The difference between reacting to how our body feels versus dictating how we want it to feel is the difference between being a victim of circumstance and being a conscious creator of our experience. But what if those sensations were just information, neutral data that we could choose how to interpret? Source energy, God, the universe, whatever you choose to describe it. The unlimited current of well-being is the ultimate performance enhancer. When we're connected to it, we experience clarity instead of confusion, passion instead of dread, certainty instead of doubt. These aren't just nice feelings. They're high-frequency vibrations that create corresponding changes in our cellular structure. This explains why some athletes maintain consistency, while others perform sporadically. The consistent ones have learned to maintain vibrational alignment, regardless of external circumstances. They've developed emotional discipline, the ability to choose their internal state independent of what their body is telling them or what challenges they're facing. I'd felt this open circuit during peak performance moments in Alaska, times when it seemed like energy was flowing through me rather than being generated by me. It's that feeling of flow. My breathing became effortless, my stride felt natural despite the fatigue, and my mind was crystal clear. I wasn't just running, I was channeling something far greater than my individual will. Abraham Hicks talks of staying on the high-flying disc of positive emotion. Love, appreciation, eagerness, passion, clarity. These emotions aren't just nice to feel. They're vibrational frequencies that create corresponding physical realities. When we're operating from these states, our body responds with capabilities that seem to transcend normal limitations. When we drop to lower frequencies, fear, doubt, frustration, anger, our physical performance drops correspondingly. The concept of cellular memory versus cellular momentum is crucial here. Memory suggests something fixed, predetermined by past experience. Momentum suggests something that can be redirected, influenced by present moment choices. Our cells aren't prisoner to past conditioning. No, they're responsive to current input. This is why moment-to-moment choices matter so profoundly. In Alaska, I was unconsciously reinforcing patterns of strength and capability. In Cuba, I was unconsciously reinforcing patterns of pain and struggle. My cells responded accordingly, creating the physical reality that matched my dominant vibration. Understanding this changed everything about how I approach physical challenges. It's not about forcing the body to perform beyond its limits. It's about removing the mental and emotional resistance that prevents us from accessing its true capabilities. After Cuba, I became obsessed with understanding what happened in Alaska and why I couldn't replicate it. I began developing pre-race rituals that consciously aligned my mind, body, and spirit, treating mental preparation with the same precision that I applied to physical training. Visualization became my primary practice, not just imagining success, but feeling it in vivid detail before it happened. I'd spend 20 minutes each morning running entire races in my mind, experiencing every sensation from the starting line nerves to the triumph of crossing the finish line. The key was engaging all my senses, making these mental rehearsals feel like memories rather than fantasies. The power of mantras revealed itself as I analyzed my Alaska experience. When my body wanted to quit, I naturally had phrases ready to go that kept me connected. I am strong. I am capable. I choose to embrace this challenge. These weren't empty words, but vibrational tools that shifted my cellular momentum in real time. I began practicing these mantras daily, not just during races. Breathing patterns became my bridge between conscious mind and source energy. Deep rhythmic breathing would oxygenate my blood while also creating a meditative state that allowed higher wisdom to flow through. I started incorporating breath work into my daily routine, building the neural pathways I'd need during the most challenging miles. Learning to recognize and interrupt negative thought spirals became perhaps the most practical skill I developed. The moment I caught myself thinking, this is too hard, or I'm not going to make it, I had a protocol ready. First, acknowledge the thought without judgment. Second, consciously choose a different focus. Third, reinforce the new direction with physical action, adjusting my posture, changing my breathing, or repeating a mantra. Creating cellular momentum through consistent mental practice meant treating my thoughts like training. Just as I wouldn't expect to run 100 miles without building physical endurance, I couldn't expect mental resilience without daily practice. The daily habits that build unshakable mental resilience are surprisingly simple, but require consistency. Morning visualization sessions, gratitude practices that keep me connected to source energy, mindful movement that reinforces the mind-body connection, regular periods of silence that allow deeper wisdom to emerge. Training our emotional response to discomfort and uncertainty means learning to interpret physical sensations differently. Discomfort isn't evidence of failure, it's information. Uncertainty isn't a threat, it's an opportunity to practice trust. Running becomes something far beyond physical exercise when we approach it as meditation in motion. There's a threshold we cross where the mechanics of putting one foot in front of the other transforms into something transcendent. Breathing finds a rhythm that seems to sync with the pulse of the earth beneath our feet. Thoughts quiet into a stream of pure awareness. No longer are we just moving through space. We're moving beyond the limitations of ordinary circumstances. The repetitive nature of running creates altered states that mystics have accessed through chanting, drumming, and dance for thousands of years. Each footfall becomes a mantra, each breath a prayer. In Alaska, I felt myself slip into a state where time became elastic. Hours compressed into moments, yet each moment contained infinite depth. What we call the runner's high isn't just endorphins flooding the system. It's a glimpse of source energy alignment, momentary disillusion of the barriers between individual will and universal flow. In those moments, we're not running through the landscape. We become part of it, moving with the same intelligence that guides rivers to the sea and birds across vast migrations. Sacred landscapes amplify this connection. The endless tundra of Alaska, the volcanic peaks of Iceland, the revolutionary roads cutting across the Cuban countryside. Each carries its own energetic signature that interacts with consciousness as we move through it. Indigenous wisdom keepers, they've always understood this. They know that certain places hold power, that moving through them consciously creates transformation that goes far beyond any physical journey. There's an energetic exchange happening between runner and environment that Western science is only beginning to measure. Our footsteps create vibrations that the Earth receives. The Earth's electromagnetic field influences our heart rhythm and brain waves. We are not separate from the landscape we're crossing. We're in constant communication with it. Adventure becomes pilgrimage when we understand that the real destination isn't a finish line or a summit, but the transformation that happens within us. The Alaskan cold that revealed what was possible. The Cuban heat that showed what was required. These weren't obstacles to overcome, but teachers to offering lessons in consciousness. The principles that create breakthrough performance in extreme challenges apply with equal power to the seemingly ordinary moments of daily life. When we understand that our cells are always listening, always responding to our dominant vibrations, every thought becomes a choice point. I've learned to start every morning by consciously choosing the energy I want to carry. Before checking emails or diving into tasks, I spend a few moments connecting with source energy, feeling appreciation for the day ahead, setting intentions that align with the highest version of myself. It's not so much positive thinking as it is vibrational preparation that creates the cellular momentum for everything that follows throughout the day. Running and adventure serve as spiritual practices that keep me connected to the deeper current of well-being. When life gets complicated, when the demands of business and relationships create static in my system, I return to the simplicity of movement. The trail becomes my church. The rhythm of footsteps form a prayer that realigns me to what matters most. Physical challenges offer the fastest path to understanding the mind-body connection because they strip away everything non-essential. When we're 70 miles into a 100-mile race, there's no room for pretense or self-deception. We are face to face with the raw truth of how consciousness shapes reality. The luxury of adventure isn't found in expensive gear or exotic destinations. Sure, those things and places are fun and have their purpose. It's in the transformation that happens when we push ourselves beyond perceived limitations. True luxury is discovering we're far more capable, more resilient, and connected than we ever imagined. Building a life that supports high vibration living means creating structures and habits that reinforce our connection to this deeper current. Surrounding ourselves with people who inspire rather than drain us. Choosing work that feels like play. Creating spaces that nurture our spirits. Making time for silence and solitude. These aren't luxuries. They're necessities for anyone serious about conscious living.
It's not a luxury, it's a choice. To make a life worth remembering, full of unique, wonderful stories.
The ripple effect of personal alignment extends far beyond individual achievement. When we operate from source energy, everyone around us feels it. Our relationships deepen. Our work becomes more impactful. We become a tuning fork that helps others remember their own connection to unlimited potential. This is how consciousness spreads, not through preaching, but through embodiment, through practice. Our cells are listening to every thought we think, responding to every emotion we feel, creating the physical reality that matches our dominant thoughts. This isn't metaphysical theory. It's practical knowledge that changes everything about how we approach challenges, relationships, and the adventure of being alive. The journey continues with each run, each adventure, each moment when we choose alignment over resistance. Alaska taught me what was possible when alignment happens naturally. Cuba showed me what happens when that alignment is lost, and revealed that consciousness practice could recreate what had once come by accident. Success and failure are both teachers in the school of consciousness. each offering lessons that expand our understanding of what's possible. The invitation isn't to avoid challenges, but to meet them from a place of alignment, knowing that our highest self is always available when we choose to access it. Start where you are, with the next step, the next breath, the next choice to align with source energy rather than to resist it. Every moment offers a fresh opportunity to practice conscious creation, to demonstrate that limitations are often just beliefs waiting to be transcended. If you found this video useful and want more tips and suggestions on health, wellness, and running, on travel and adventure, and even some men's style, I invite you to join the Luxury of Adventure Premium Club on runwithryan.org. As a member, you get access to all new content first. Thank you. Or subscribe here on YouTube. We've been building this channel over the last few months, and I'd love for you to be a part of it. Every new subscriber, every like, every notification set helps the algorithm know you're enjoying what you see. So, thank you, my friends. I appreciate each and every one of you. Now, check out this video right here if you're curious about ways to more efficiently drop into that coveted flow state we talked about. Thank you again, and I will see you back here very soon.